Hello fellow Minecraft addicts, Jarbo here. Today we are going to be talking about observers and a few cool things that you can do with them. Alright, so an observer, when you place it down, the output is what ends up facing you. You can tell that because it has a little red dot. The other side has the little eyeballs, and they're looking for a block update in this block right here. So if we put a piece of dirt right there in that block, we're going to see that red dot. Do you see it? Made a pulse. When we break the block, it made a pulse. It's just looking for any kind of update, and it doesn't have to be like a block being placed or broken. As you can see here, let me move this stuff out of the way so we can see it. That observer right there is facing into that block of grass that sheep is standing on. And when that observer senses that grass block change from grass to dirt, it puts out a pulse, and then that pulse is going to be sent into this dirt block right here. That redstone is going to power that dispenser that has shears in it, and the sheep is going to get sheared, and its wool is going to fall into this barrel, because underneath the sheep, glitched into that block, there's a minecart hopper sitting on top of a hopper facing into this barrel. This is an easy way to get lots of wool without having to manually shear the sheep or kill them or find them. Once you get one set in here, they will constantly, the block will change to grass, the sheep will eat it, and then they'll get sheared and their wool will go into their barrel. It's important, if you build this, make sure you put a trapdoor on top of it, especially if you're in a taiga biome, or your sheep will get eaten by wolves. Alright, for our second example, we have a bedrock exclusive, a Trident Killer. So what happens is, you throw down a trident, and if that trident is moving after you've thrown it, it will do damage to a mob that it touches as it's being moved around. So what we have here is just an observer clock using pistons and torches to constantly cycle these pistons, and you see the trident is moving around, and if there was a mob in there, it would be taking damage from the trident. There's lots of different ways to build these. This is a very simple one that it's the first one that I ever built, and I didn't come up with this design. I don't recall where I saw it, but it's not my design, so I'm not going to teach you how to build it. I'm just going to show you how it works. So the observer here is looking for an update on this torch, and as you can see here, with this switched on, that torch is off. As soon as we switch it off, because remember the lever's working backwards, that torch is going to pulse. That's going to cause this observer to pulse that piston. That redstone torch pulses. This observer pulses this piston. At the same time, this torch gets a pulse, and then this observer, and so on and so forth. And it just moves the piston around and around and around. We do have a minecart with hopper sitting on top of a hopper here, and any items that fall into this will get pulled through that block into the minecart, into the hopper, and into the chest. So as you can see, if we go up here and throw our piece of stone in there, it's going to get picked up and end up in our chest. Alright, so now we have an observer in a different situation that is looking for an update in this air block here. And we have this same basic clock on 3 different builds here. It's built 3 different ways to grow different crops. So this one here will work for sugarcane or bamboo, and all it's doing is the sugarcane or the bamboo is going to grow, and once it gets 3 tall, that observer is going to sense the update in the air block in front of it. It's going to put out a pulse. That pulse is going to go into this block, power that piston. The piston is going to come out and break it at the second level so that it stays planted. This is not a lossless farm. If you're looking for absolute maximum drops, this is not a good farm. It doesn't, it's not fast. But if you build this, like I have in my world, on a massive scale, you will always have enough sugarcane in a chest for definitely my single player world. This one has a switch so that, or a lever, when you turn the lever on that powers the piston, that will stop the sugarcane from growing so that it doesn't continuously run after, the chest is full or whatever. Now in this example, everything is exactly the same about the farm part of it itself. I mean, it's the exact same build. The only difference here is I've changed the collection system so that now, instead of a hopper, when the kelp grows up 3 tall, it's broken and then it'll float up in this water stream. And in order to get this water stream to work this way, you actually have to put down a block in that position underneath in the middle right there. And then that'll cause the water stream to go over and out of the farm. And then you break the block there and add a water source block back in so the items will float all the way up. They come down here and end up in the chest, and the collection system, whatever you wanted, you could do whatever you wanted to there. And you can stack these designs. That's why this torch is up here, so that if you just built the same exact build on top of this one more level, you take this block here out, and that torch would be where that block is. Obviously, you'd have to break the top of this chute here. You wouldn't have that glass there. That's only there so that when it's breaking the items, they don't pop up on top of here. You can build this as wide as you want, and you don't even have to have the observers in every single slice of this, because if you just run the redstone across the back here, it will, you could have one observer for every, really, you could go almost like 28 blocks, because it could power the one in the middle, and you could use the signal 14 this way and 14 this way. I guess that would be 29. I don't do that. The more observers you have, the more often it's going to fire, because the more items that will grow in front of it. It also has the shutoff system, and if you stack these multiple high, it also will fire the upper level above it every time this slice fires, because it will pulse this torch by that redstone there, and that will cause the ones above it to pulse. So if you build it right, every time the bottom one fires, all of them will fire, but it doesn't travel down with the way I've designed this. So here we have a very similar design with a few small changes, and you can actually stack these closer together, because you can put the light. I put a water source, but you can put the light behind the farmland, and it'll come through that gap between the observer and the farmland and light this up. On this one, I just built it this way because, well, I copied and pasted those actually and just modified it a little bit. But here we have pumpkins and melons, and I had melon up there as well. I was checking to make sure that my shutoff switch would actually work. The one I have in my world doesn't have a shutoff switch on it. The target block here is just to redirect this redstone, otherwise it doesn't go into this block. Shutoff switch is there, and that'll cause all of the pistons to pop out so nothing will grow. It's important that I have both sides open to increase the number of blocks where this can try to grow a melon or a pumpkin. I believe that increases the rates. You have to verify that one on your own. This is about the observers, not so much about the mechanics of the farm. And again, this one does have some loss. On this one here, I also wanted to point out that if you stack these, if you offset it one back every time you go up, and you'll have to change the shutoff system for that to work, it doesn't have as much potential for loss because you won't have blocks above this. Your dirt block will actually end up on top of this observer, and then your water stream would just go up kind of at a diagonal, and then you don't have any blocks above this, so you shouldn't actually have any loss on this farm. And the last thing is just a quick little item sorter. This is a design that has been around. I haven't seen it used with target blocks, but it seems to work fine. And this is much easier and cheaper to get than the pistons and obsidian that I built this with in my world. I actually am kind of testing this right now because again, the target blocks are much cheaper and easier than pistons and obsidian. And the way this works is you have a comparator here that's looking at this hopper, which is your actual filter, and when it gets a signal of more than 2, right now it's locked up with the signal of 2 because it has 45 items in it. As soon as it gets to 46, it will power all 3 of these redstone, activate this block, which will shut this torch off, which will unpower this block, unlock the hopper below the filter, and let 1 item through before it all locks back up again. As you can see here, I've got a chest here with 5 diamond blocks, 5 netherite blocks, and 5 lapis blocks. I've got the hopper locked so they'll stay in there. So if I shut that hopper off, we can watch and see that the diamonds go up by 1, netherite's going up by 1, and they're all falling down in. The 5 lapis end up there, the 5 netherite end up there, and the 5 diamonds end up there. So yeah, if you build these, connect them all into a single storage system, you can put item filters in, and then you can manually sort all these items. And if you hook your Trident Killer up to that, you could sort out your mob drops. So that's why I include that here. It doesn't use observers, but it's a good addition to all of these farms to sort the drops, especially if you have multiple of these. Like if you have a layer of sugarcane and a layer of bamboo, you can use that to sort the 2 different drops out so they don't all end up in the same chest. But that's my quick little explanation of how an observer works. And like I said, we've seen an observer pick up 2 different signals here. Here, it's picking up the state of a block change. It's actually changing from grass to dirt and then back. And we can see our sheep got sheared, and there's some wool in here now. In this example, the observer is picking up a redstone state change. That torch is going from on to off, and that's causing it to update and put out a pulse. In this one, the sugarcane or the bamboo is growing into this air block, and that's the state change that it's sensing, causing it to fire the piston. Same with this one in the water block, and then this one with the pumpkins growing, or this one with the stem changing state when the pumpkin or the melon grows. Let me turn up the tick speed real quick, and we'll watch all these farms put out some items real quick. So that's how observers work. And I hope that you can take what you've learned on how you wire redstone and how different things work and build your own farm from these basic designs and see what you come up with. There's lots of ways to do the storage and collection to make them more efficient. Alright guys, well, I hope you have enjoyed learning a little bit more about observers and how you can use them and some of the cool farms that you can make out of them. And a little bit about a storage system you can use to collect all the items that you're going to make if you build these farms in your world. If you want to learn more about redstone, subscribe. I have a couple ideas for some more videos and some more things that we can build, and we're going to try to get more and more advanced and bigger builds. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.